So what were your first impressions of the University of East London Docklands campus? And did you get did you and the rest of the Team USA personnel staying here get a warm welcome?
Well, we all kind of arrived at different times, right? So it wasn't like an entire group just arrived, but we all kind of arrived at different times based on competition schedules. And yeah, I mean, the first thing I noticed is that campus is obviously it's called Docklands, so it's right off the water,
Yeah,
kind of in London, but still a little off the way. So it was a nice little reprieve from the hustle and bustle of the London inner city. And yeah, I mean, I think we got a little tour. There was a welcome desk, and they took us straight to our accommodations, and we had a busy time there, so we got right to work.
fantastic. Now, one of the questions that I've always covered in my time in sport was how important it is for athletes to be rested, rehab, get plenty of sleep. Does that apply to coaches like yourselves as well? Do you find yourself coaching better if you've had a good night's sleep and plenty of rest? And did you get that when you were on the Docklands campus?
Well, I think that statement is definitely true, and that doesn't just apply to coaches and athletes. I think that applies to pretty much any human on the planet. If you can get some good rest in, you're just going to perform at a better level. And yeah, I mean, the Docklands were a strategically great place to kind of be located. Again, it was kind of an area that was removed from the games, so it was a way to kind of at least mentally recharge, and not just be caught up in the entire sweep of emotions that are the Olympic Games.
Great. And the gym on campus, it's Team USA left all their equipment here at the SportsDock, Andreas. Did you use the gym yourself and have a chance to look around the facilities there? And what did you think of them?
Well, I did get a chance to look around the facilities, and it was a phenomenal setup. It was also for a multitude of different sports, so it was cool to be able to see different coaches from a variety of different sports in that venue. I did personally not use the gym because actually the athletics team, we worked out at Mile End Stadium,
Yeah.
and they had their own track as well as gym facilities there. So we tended to use those. I don't think we had many track athletes lift at the Docklands, but yeah, phenomenal that the gym is still there and accessible. And I believe that was part of the arrangement for Team USA to come in and use that facility, was to equip it and then leave all the equipment post Olympics.
Yeah, and just so you're aware, I mean, we estimate that at least 35,000 people have used it over that 10-year period who have joined up and used the Team USA equipment. So that legacy is very much continued.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. Nothing like building a culture of physical activity and being able to support that with a really nice facility. I think the more nice equipment and the nicer environment you can provide, the more apt people are to join and want to work out.
Fantastic. You started off, Andreas, as a volunteer assistant coach, and I've read that you've got a laid back but demanding approach to coaching. I hope that's accurate, what I read. But what advice would you give to students studying sports coaching and sports science?
Well, I like to think I'm laid back and demanding. I think my advice is, in terms of if we're talking like coaching style or personality, I think it's kind of finding your own style and what works for you. If you're high energy, then by all means be high energy. If you're laid back, be laid back. I think it just comes down to finding your own style, because that comes across as really authentic to anyone that you're dealing with. The worst thing you want to do is represent yourself in a way that you really aren't, because at some point people will figure out that that's not really your true personality, and that just comes across as disingenuous and fake. So yeah, find who you are and kind of work to kind of cultivate that style and that type of leadership.
Fantastic. And in terms of young sports coaches, we're surrounded here by the borough of Newham, and a lot of the local schools come to watch basketball and volleyball and other sports here, normally on a Wednesday afternoon. Would you encourage young sports coaches to get out there in their local community and coach and encourage people of all ages to take up sport?
Well, I think, sport is such a, ingrained part of society, and obviously every country has different preferences for different sports, but it's not just great for physical activity. It's a great way for making friends and bonding, and whether you're a young athlete or a coach, meeting colleagues or making new friends along the way. And it's a great it's a great microcosm of everything in society. You can learn a lot of lessons from sport. It teaches you to deal with loss and failure, how to comport yourself if you're winning. It teaches you to be resilient. It teaches you how to learn and work at a craft and learn new skills, and it's fun, right? So I think sport at any level is always, a great thing to be engaged with. And so it's awesome that there are opportunities for youth to come out and watch different sports, and maybe they'll gain some inspiration by watching or figure out some sports that they want to try for themselves.
Okay. I saw a great YouTube clip of you coaching Aries Merritt.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that coaching drill was using a shot put, and he was throwing it behind him. And there was very clearly a great personal chemistry between the two of you. Is that something that enhances performance, or is that something you work on to develop that relationship with the athlete? And how important is that coach to athlete relationship?
Well, I think within any working environment, the better relationships you have with the people you're working with, the easier it is to pretty much get anything done, right? Communication is easier. You understand how to talk to an individual depending on the situation, or you understand where they're coming from. I think simply just getting to know athletes and athletes understanding what your expectations are for them go a long way in fostering a working relationship. Like Aries and I are basically, we worked together for so long. We're basically like cousins, right? And half the time, we would just basically give each other a hard time, in a joking manner during training, which made it so much more enjoyable and so much more fun. Like no one wants to come to a working environment that is fostered by negativity and fear and other emotions and situations like that. So yeah, having a safe, fun, hardworking environment, I think benefits pretty much anybody.
Fantastic. Take us through your emotions, Andreas, when Aries won the 110 meters gold in London at the Olympics in 2012. And did you get a chance to speak to him pretty soon afterwards? And you don't, not to go into the detail, but would you mind broadly sharing what the two of you talked about?
Yeah, well, normally Aries gets he wants like a little bit of a talk before we run at a big competition, and he was he was the favorite going into the final, and he'd performed really well in the prelims and semis, so he'd had no hiccups. Yeah. But with that particular event, it is hurdles. It just takes one mistake or one clipped hurdle to, have 3 or 4 outstanding athletes blow right past you, and you'll finish in a non-medal position. And so he was so ready. I just told him before the race that I was like, you know what? You're so ready. You've never been more ready for this in your life. You don't need a speech. And then when I got to see him after the race, I just came up to him and I said, hey, man, I told you didn't need that speech, right? You just did that all without it. And, he just laughed. But I'd say there were really 2 emotions. Obviously, I was very excited and very happy. But because he was the favorite, an overwhelming feeling for a coach as well was just relief. Like, okay, we got it done. There were no hiccups. Because, again, you just never know in sport, right? Nothing is promised. Nothing is guaranteed. You have to go out and execute your race in order to give yourself, a chance. The outcome is always in doubt, which is part of the exciting and fun part of sport, but at the same time, the very nerve-wracking part. So yeah, I was excited, I was super happy, and I was also very, very relieved that he got that done for himself.
Because a lot of favorites don't win the gold, do they? So as you say, a lot of it depends on the day.
Exactly. And there's so many great competitors as well, right? You just never know. Someone could have an amazing run, or you could make one small mistake, and that changes the outcome substantially.
So in that year, Andreas, you were awarded the USOC Track Coach of the Year, from what I can understand it. And then on top of that, Aries then went to Brussels and beat the world and got the world record in the 110 meters hurdles in the Diamond League event. So, in the context of 2012, what's your interpretation of the word legacy? Because both from a personal, professional level for you and Aries, it was a phenomenal year. What's your sort of interpretation of the word legacy in the context of what was achieved?
Yeah, well, I mean, 2012 was definitely a phenomenal, magical year. Really, in terms of legacy, it was just a testament to Aries's consistency that year. He ran very fast, pretty much from the start of the year all the way to the end. And so I think a lot of his achievements, the Olympic title, the world record, are a testament to being able to be very, very consistent and focused on his, on his objectives for that year. Oftentimes, I think it's hard for athletes to remain consistent and maintain that high level. And he was able to do it from a physical standpoint, from a concentration standpoint, and from an execution standpoint. And anyone that knows hurdles is like, once you get into a rhythm, you just kind of roll with it. Like you're just able to kind of stick with it. And we managed to get into a really good rhythm and just managed to maintain it. And from an Olympic standpoint, we see the legacy still within London, right? A lot of the village, and I've been fortunate to have been back to London numerous times after 2012. The Olympic Village has been, reappropriated for housing. The Olympic Stadium is now used for a couple track meets, but is mainly the West Ham United, or is it United or West Ham?
West Ham United, yeah, that's
West Ham United. There we go. West Ham United, so I'll say the British Football Stadium, and we have an example of the Docklands. Mile End is still a training hub. The Docklands now obviously have this gym where you said 35,000 people have been able to go and work out. So that's kind of part of the sustained legacy of the Olympics, embedding what was a one-time event back into the community and giving back to London, who did such a phenomenal job in hosting the games and volunteering tons of people to help out make it a successful event.
Fantastic. And just the final question, Andreas, the day that you packed everything up and you were due to leave the Docklands campus here at the University of East London, what were your thoughts? I know you've lived and worked abroad in a number of different countries, but what collectively, what were your thoughts after everything had happened over that sort of 2.5 to 3 week period as you left us?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was, Olympic Games is a whirlwind. You're very busy. And, I'm always thankful, regardless of where I am in the world, to have a safe place to, lay my head and go to sleep. And so, yeah, I think overall the sentiment was, appreciation for the setup, for having a place to, stay, which was also convenient because there was a great, you just walked a couple steps and you were right by it wasn't a tube station, but it was a railway station, which then connected you with pretty much anything within London.
Yes, so, the Docklands Light Railway, yeah.
Yeah, light railway. So, we were just thankful for the overall setup that allowed us to come in and achieve what we wanted to achieve during the Olympic Games.